Welcome. Yes, as a 3-month resident of Sweden, I'm welcoming you to my second public talk here in Sweden and my 4th public talk ever. And I'm really excited. Actually, I've been a little bit nervous all day, and I'm just very glad you're here. This idea that I'm going to talk to you tonight about needs more attention. I am discovering my own limits in working on this idea like never before. So I'm just glad that you're here tonight with your attention on this thing so that maybe it can begin to live more. I woke up on Christmas morning in 2008, almost 3 years ago, with an idea. This idea was the culmination of over 20 years of investigation. And I knew the moment I woke up that this was the answer to my question. And I felt really good. I'm going to show you something. This is a condensation of the idea that I had on Christmas morning in 2008. I call it the Darkness Conjecture. And it reads, I'll stand back so you can all see it. Rapture, the natural human condition, turns to suffering in a catastrophically injured psyche, which, as an organic system, will heal itself with vital energy accumulated in the profound rest available in an absolutely dark environment. The first thing is that the reason this is called the Darkness Conjecture is, well, because of the idea of spending time in a dark environment, like a dark room, an absolutely dark bedroom, for at least a couple days straight, and just resting. And that this, maybe, could be the solution not only to my little problem, but the solution, as I started to see, to every problem. It all started when I was 15. I was a lot like a lot of teenagers around the world. I was depressed and alienated and hypercritical of the culture around me. I think with good reason. But I just felt like shit. And that wasn't fun. Well, one day I was listening to this pseudo-spiritual person speaking on a video. Somehow in that moment when the person said it, it just, something hit me. It was, you know, this person, again, was just a pseudo-spiritual teacher, not really that important. And he said, do you know that all you have to do is love yourself and be happy? So like I'd heard that many times, and it's not all that profound. I'm sure everybody's heard that in various ways. But for some reason, it just, I don't know, it just moved something inside of me. And within a few minutes, I was running down the street like I'd just been born. Like all the obstacles and problems that I felt were cleared away. And there was just this incredibly beautiful, perfect universe to engage and to be. That feeling stayed with me for 3 months solid. And so when the feeling started to fade 3 months later, or after 3 months, it didn't make any sense to me, because this feeling clearly was how life was supposed to be. That's like how life really is. And all the, whatever happened before and whatever those crazy grown-ups are doing, like, I don't know, but this is it. So when it started to fade, I felt very confused and disoriented and desperate, and I tried to hold on to the feeling. But I had not done anything to have the feeling, and so I could not do anything to keep it. So it was gone, and I was left with this memory. I just wanted to know what had happened. Why? What was it? Why did it leave, this feeling? And so I spent the next 20 years investigating this single question. That feeling, I came to learn, in English is called rapture. And it is an extremely pleasant feeling of communion with the universe. And it's very quiet. This is the thing about the feeling. It's not like ecstasy. It's not effusive. It's not like a fountain. It's just this perfect calm inside, a perfectly calm feeling that everything is perfect. And when you see the world like that, as I think you all know, it feels like you cannot help but to feel intoxicated by it. You can't help but to feel like you just want to surrender all the time. It's just an overwhelmingly wonderful feeling. But it does not incapacitate a person. It does not make it impossible to live normally. I kept going to school, I kept playing my violin, I kept, doing everything that I normally did. I just felt really great. And then between classes, I would go out and lie down on the grass, and I would just pet the grass, because it just felt so good. And then looking at the trees, the leaves in the tree waving in the wind, every leaf looked like a drop of pure life, just kind of vibrating there in the sky. The voices from the culture around me could no longer be taken seriously. And I didn't know exactly where I was going, or how, or what I wanted in particular, in concrete terms. But I did know very clearly what I didn't want, and that was what those idiots were offering me. And I have fairly consistently refused their ridiculous offers of, you know the program. Kind of edgy about that subject. Well, after those 3 months, I was introduced to what I would call the catastrophe, which is the internal disaster of my life, which, in my opinion, is just a good reflection of the external disaster of our culture. So I spent the next 20 years becoming honest about the fact that that's what I was looking at. And after about 10 years, I met a man who became my spiritual teacher for the next 8 years, who really just shoved it in my face consistently. He was merciless. And basically what he was telling me was, Andrew, your life is fucked up. Would you please get your shit together? I'm like, no, I had this experience when I was 15, and I know everything's really great, and So what are you talking about? So he really shook me up and brought me face to face with the horror of my situation, which, as I said, I still think is a perfect reflection of the horror of the situation in our culture. And so I studied that for a while, and I wanted to understand, like, why that was. What was that about? How did it happen? Like, where did we go wrong? We couldn't have always been like this. I mean, you go out into this park and you look at squirrels and chipmunks and birds, and they seem fine. Like, what's our problem? The trees, they show up with their green leaves every spring. They just, they drop their leaves in the fall. The sun comes up, everything else is working. What's wrong with us? Are we really such an exception? And if we're such an exception, like, how did we get here? Did aliens come and put us down here? They took us from where we really belong and put us in this foreign and hostile place and, kind of kicked us in the ass and said good luck. Or was there ever a time when human beings were having a good time on this planet? Well, I was pretty convinced that there was. And my evidence for this belief was the attitude and quality of children. Basically, the younger, the better. Animals and the rest of nature. And indigenous people. Indigenous, like tribal people, or Indians, Aboriginals, Pygmies, because they have had a very different take on our overall situation than we in civilization have had. And they have told us many, many times, and they have expressed their shock and their horror and their fear to us many, many times when we have met them. Some of them have made it into print. Some of them have had their words printed. And I was reading those words, and it was like, I'm like, these people, they know something that we do not know. So I could not accept that this was just how life was. There were entire cultures, entire races of people who had lived harmoniously and happily in the world for millennia, far longer than our culture has even existed. And they did it without ruining the place where they lived. They did it without wiping each other out. They did it without destroying massive numbers of entire species. So to me, that's very impressive, and it makes us look kind of like idiots, as far as I'm concerned. They are the elders, we are the youngers. We have something to learn from them, not the other way around. So that was my foundation. If the indigenous can do it, if animals and trees can do it, and if babies can do it, then somehow we can do it. I can do it. There is a way, and I will find it. That was my conviction. That was my resolve the whole time. I studied philosophy, psychology, history, sociology, anthropology, a bunch of ologies. I studied design as well because my father was a designer and I learned that from him. I studied health because my mom was really interested in that. Actually, both of them were. And I studied diet, and that led me to something called natural hygiene, which is a school of health and healing that started in the United States about 1830. Natural hygiene is the reason why today we take for granted the benefits of regular bathing, fresh air, exercise, pure food, and getting plenty of rest, whether you're sick or healthy. Honestly, before the 1800s, almost nobody in our culture believed those things. If you believed in those things, you were a witch or a freak or something, but you just, you were a weirdo. These are the basic premises of natural hygiene applied to the psyche, which is never really, well, that's not true. The psyche is now beginning to be viewed as an organic system. We have systems, or organic systems, like circulation, respiration. Are there any biologists in the room who can name some? No, but you understand what I mean. An organic system is a system of organs that work together to produce some aspect required by life. So consciousness is actually the main system for any animal that possesses consciousness. Consciousness is its basic means of survival. So, like, what I do with my awareness is I make sure I'm okay, I look around for things that I need, I, hang out with people that I can help and who can help me, and so on. There's a zillion things. And the cool thing about human consciousness is that there is this power to direct it. Like, I can put it over there, I can put it over here, but it's still basically the same function that we see in squirrels and rabbits and gorillas. So there is life. That is the basic principle of natural hygiene. There is life, it is, and it lives. And what that means is that it preserves itself, it generates itself, it preserves itself, and it repairs itself. So, and only it, the second principle is only the life, only the organism has the power to do those things. And therefore, all the actions, all organic actions are performed by the organism. The reason this is important is when it comes to looking at the maintenance and the restoration of health. Who is the actor? Is it the food that I'm eating? Is it the drugs that I'm taking? Is it the treatment that I'm receiving? Is it the actions I'm performing consciously? Or is it the autonomic functions of the organism itself? Well, natural hygiene says that it is solely the organism that performs the action. If you eat food, it has no power of action. It is basically an inert substance inside your body that your body will now use for its own purposes. In the relationship, the body, the organism, is the actor, and the food is the passive substance floating around. Now, in this example, food is a normal condition of life. Okay, the body does need food, but the food doesn't do anything. It just goes in, and then the body goes, oh, great, sugar, water, calcium, whatever. So in the same way, air is a natural condition of life, water, sunlight, heat, friendship, sleep, exercise, all these things are necessary. We have to provide these things to the organism so that it can then continue producing more life. Well, all of it kind of funnels through a single concept in natural hygiene. And that's the concept of vitality or vital energy. So when a body is sick, the thing it really needs, first of all, is energy. It's with energy that the body will do everything. It will clean out the garbage. It will repair the tissues. It will actually recharge the nerves. Like when we wake up in the morning, the reason why we feel awake, or one of the reasons, is that our nerves actually have more electrical potential in them. They're really just like batteries, and it can even be measured with conventional scientific equipment, how much energy is in the nerve. Because all day long we're using that energy, and at the end of the day, it's gone. And that's why we get tired. Well, it's one of the reasons. And it doesn't matter how much we eat. It doesn't matter how much we make love. It doesn't matter how much fresh air we breathe that day. I mean, all those things are really good, but we're out. We've got to take a break. So in my view, what has happened is all of us got catastrophically injured in our most important vital system. None of us had a chance, or almost none of us, have had a chance to heal from that damage. But it is possible to heal from that damage. It must be, right? I mean, if I'm not dead, then, what? Do I have to reincarnate to get a new piece of equipment here? Why isn't it possible now? I mean, so this was kind of my conversation. And what I discovered about 5 years ago was that if I went into a totally dark room, this is 2006 when I first did it, so almost 6 years ago, I experienced a kind of rest that I never had before. And here's the thing about rest. Well, I just told you a minute ago, when you rest, you accumulate vital energy. So, what if the amount of vital energy accumulated were increased by 10 times? What if I only accumulated vital energy and didn't spend any of it for several days? Maybe, like, let's say there's this hump, and to recover from this catastrophic injury, I got to get over this hump. And I'm always down here, And some days I'm a little bit higher, and some days I'm a little bit lower. But basically, my overall quality of life, my overall vitality is low. And my overall ability to function is very low. Because my equipment is damaged. There are subtle and gross tissues in consciousness. It's not just in the brain, it's not just in the heart, and it's not just in the gut, because all of those are actually centers of intelligence in the human system. But there are parts of the human being that we don't know anything about. We may not even be able to, see them. From all reports, there are. So, and all of those parts are alive. They may just exist in like another dimension, some sort of really subtle energetic dimension, but it's still alive. And if it's still damaged, it's still not going to work. So here's this hump, and here's my normal energy level, average. If I go into a dark room, I start increasing my energy level beyond anything I've ever experienced before. And maybe, and this is the conjecture, maybe it could increase enough point where I could just get over that hump, and the damage would heal. And the perspective of perfection and beauty that I had when I was 15, and that I had when I was very young, 2 and 3 and 4, would return, and along with it, the rapture that I think, as I said before, everyone has experienced, at least for a moment. That is my hope. And that's basically what I wanted to tell you tonight. And maybe, and this is the conjecture, maybe it could increase enough point where I could just get over that hump and the damage would heal. And the perspective of perfection and beauty that I had when I was 15 and that I had when I was very young, 2 and 3 and 4, would return, and along with it, the rapture that I think, as I said before, everyone has experienced, at least for a moment. That is my hope. And that's basically what I wanted to tell you tonight.